Hello, everyone, and thank you for attending today's webinar, The Future of Work with Cisco Networking Solutions. Before we begin, I want to cover a few housekeeping items. At the bottom of your audience console are multiple application widgets you can use. If you have any questions during the webinar, you can submit a question in the Q&A box and they will be answered at the end of the presentation. You can also expand your slide area by clicking the maximize icons in the top right of the slide viewer. If you have any technical difficulties, please click on the help widget. If you can please take a moment to fill out the survey at the end of the webinar, that would be great. I will now hand over the presentation to Mike, your first speaker. Thank you.
Great, thanks Morgan. Good morning everyone. Good afternoon if you're checking in from the East Coast. My name is Mike Moore. I'm a practice development manager here at Insight, and I sit within our networking and integrated security practice. So focus really heavily on the enterprise networking space, all the different services and solutions that we bring to market for our clients. So I'm going to go ahead and get things kicked off. First of all, thank you to the event teams for putting this together. I think this is a really relevant topic as we're kind of coming down that backside and home stretch and getting everyone back to work and all the inter-office traveling to partner and client sites. So I think we're all kind of going through that reintroduction to the workplace right now. So I'll go into the future of work, kind of the conversations we're having with our clients out there, what we're really seeing from a technology perspective. And then I'll go ahead and hand over to Doug Starr, who's our technical solutions architect on the Cisco side, to talk about the Catalyst portfolio and how that's playing in with the future of work. And then Amr Body is going to follow him up with the Meraki networking stack. From there, we'll go ahead and wrap everything up. As Morgan mentioned, we do have a Q&A widget in the screen, so if you have any questions, feel free to put that in there as we go throughout. Hopefully, we'll also have some time at the end if any late questions come in that we can answer those verbally as well. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. So I think everyone's probably seen over the past year and a half, everything's changed a little bit, right? The traditional perimeter that we're used to, where all of our employees and devices and things sit within inside a robust firewall within the enterprise, and all the connectivity out to the internet goes through that firewall, is shifting a little bit. Now that we have a workforce that went 90 to 100% remote for a lot of companies, that the perimeter is now outside of the traditional mechanisms, right? So it's no longer well-defined. The edge of our network, it's still at the branch in some instances, but it's also at the home office. It's wherever our mobile users are, and it's wherever the data is that those employees and partners and devices are trying to connect back into our data, whether that's in our private infrastructure, whether that's in the cloud, but wherever that workload resides. So the concept of the perimeter around our entire enterprise that we've come to know and love for about 30 years now, I think it's kind of been the standard, is really getting turned up on its head. And we're seeing a very dispersed IT environment where we have to support the users and devices and things regardless of where they sit, whether it's in the branch or outside. So as we look at what that future of work looks like, we know we're always going to have branch offices, right? We're going to have some kind of on-prem infrastructure. There's very few verticals and industries that can facilitate 100% remote workforce. If they can, that's great, but I think we're going to be seeing a mix for a while. And if we look at the stat up in the top right, this is actually from a recent Cisco report, kind of getting a pulse on the market for what work from home is going to look like going forward. And a lot of the organizations say that at least or over half of their workforce still plan to work remote for the foreseeable future, at least 8+ days per month. So we're going to see a good mix of users and employees who are on site, those who are sitting at home, those who are mobile, and they're all going to need to access the same applications. They're going to be on video conference calls now that video has kind of become the new standard for everybody. So being able to support what we've gotten used to while working remote and facilitating that for the workforce regardless of where they sit. And obviously, the applications that we consume now, we have those in private infrastructure, we have those software as a service, infrastructure as a service platform. We really live in that multi-cloud world. So where they're consuming the data, where we're all consuming the data, is really dispersed. So that kind of gives you a layout of what that edge looks like. And the way we connect all that, we're still going to have traditional networking, Wi-Fi connectivity at our branch and office locations. So think of the switching infrastructure, the access points, routers. But now as we're getting into more modern architectures, we're starting to see capabilities being deployed around software-defined WAN, cloud networking and security, like Secure Access Service Edge. You've probably heard of Cisco Umbrella that works as a secure internet gateway that provides a lot of those security services on the cloud that can help support and facilitate both branch, home office, and those mobile users, regardless of where they sit. And as we see evolving connectivity options, we also have the emergence of 5G or private 5G. You may have heard of CBRS, and that's another kind of hot topic, and how we're connecting really started more in the public sector space, helping bridge that gap for underserved communities that didn't have traditional internet service providers. So getting remote learning capabilities going was really that pressing need we've seen over the past year and a half, but we're starting to see an emergence and innovation in that space also in the enterprise field. So in manufacturing, oil, gas, transportation, anywhere where you have a large outdoor space that you're trying to provide connectivity for either users, devices, IoT, sensors, you name it, a really interesting solution that we can provide that maybe you can deploy a couple nodes to cover a multi-mile area rather than having to deploy hundreds of wireless access points, but still underpinned by that networking and security infrastructure that we've come to know and love. And again, that's really all of this infrastructure, all these locations are supporting the people, our contractors, our customers, our employees, as well as the devices that are connecting to our networks. And if we look at the influx that we've seen in IoT just in the past couple of years, we know that these networks need to be more robust. There's more devices that don't require any human interactions. They're just sensors out in the environments that are providing streams of data that give us really cool analytical information and help us really visualize what's going on in our environment so we can bring some meaningful outcomes and services back to our clients. But there's a lot of security considerations that go into that, a lot of connectivity considerations. So thinking about Wi-Fi 6 and multi-gigabit switching capabilities to provide that kind of backbone to facilitate that communication and security to get us that data. Oh, sorry there, I got stuck on mute. So as we look for preparing for the future of work, when we're out talking to clients, these are some of the conversations that are really top of mind. The first one, obviously, is the environment secure? Nobody wants to be in the headlines of the news, and we've all seen that ransomware and cyber threats are on the rise. There's so many different phishing attempts and other avenues that hackers and exploits are trying to get into our environment to get to our data. So going in there and talking about a multi-layered security approach to your environment is really key. And as we're talking about the enterprise networking technologies today, that's really that first line of defense that we can think of when we're securing the environment. So thinking about network access control and multi-factor authentication, really critical pieces to start that multi-layered approach that also adds into your data protection plans, how you replicate and back up your data to keep that safe and secure when an attack inevitably occurs. But reducing that overall threat surface all the way from the endpoint, regardless of where they sit, all the way to where your data is stored. Paying off technical debt is a very relevant conversation, especially as we're looking at some of the refresh cycles for a lot of hardware platforms out there today. And I think Doug and Alma are going to touch on some of these. But I know we have a bunch of switches that I implemented probably about 10 years ago. I remember unboxing the first 3750X and putting it in a telecom closet back at a university I used to work for and thought it was the greatest thing. And I can't believe that thing's already coming end of support, end of life. And now we have all these new technologies to put in place. So we're actually going to dive into the technical debt a little bit more in the next slide, because end of life and support is one component of that. But the conversation really goes a lot further when we're talking about Cisco networking solutions. And then obviously enabling a hybrid remote workforce, or a hybrid workforce, so remote and those that are coming on-prem. So obviously relevant, looking at the stats we saw, where we're going to have half the workforce that's working remote part-time and half that are going to be on-prem. So how do we enable that? How do we provide the best connectivity and balance of security for all of those employees that we have? So I mentioned around technical debt, the end of life, end of support. Really, when we think of that perspective, that's really just sweating hardware as long as we can. And who doesn't want to do that, right? We want to get what we're paying for, so we're going to use that as as long as we can leverage that in our environment and we're supported. But when it comes time to refresh, what we really need to do is look at the architectures that are going to give us the second portion of what paying off technical debt is, and that's the automation capabilities. So as we're looking at the 9000 series Catalyst switches that Doug's going to dive into, and the Meraki platforms, the programmability of those platforms and be able to integrate with DNA Center and automate through the Meraki dashboard, really critical for enabling IT teams to be more effective so that they can really focus on the delivery of service, new service creation, innovation, rather than the operational side of the house where they're just trying to keep the lights on and they're troubleshooting SUs and having to do things manually, configurations manually, and very, very manual steps for bringing up any kind of sites and creations. And that also goes into that as a service model, managed services, and I'll touch on that a little bit as well here in the next couple slides. So shamelessly, I stole this slide from Jim Grubb, and if you guys aren't aware of who Jim Grubb is, he is the chief evangelist at Cisco. He does hundreds of C-level events in a year, goes out to client sites and presents on really what the future of work is. So this is something that kind of stuck out for me from one of the last presentations I saw that he created, where it talks about your technology strategy really being directly linked to your business strategy. And what that means to me is as we look at the organizations that are really disruptive, or the businesses and services like Ubers and Amazons, all the ones that have that digital disruption that are getting a good fair share of the market, they understand that the technology that they're implementing enables their workforce, it enables the processes that they have within their business to drive that business forward for them. So we all know that the only constant is change. So we're going to have new people, new processes, new cultures as we have churn within our business and an environment. So having the technology that has automated capabilities that you can run DevOps and have a very robust kind of CI/CD pipeline where you're deploying this all infrastructure very in an automated fashion, it's going to, again, relieve the load on that IT staff so that they can really drive forward what the business is trying to achieve and differentiate the way that they can come to market with the technology they have and the services that they have to offer. The last piece I'll cover before I hand it over to Doug, as we're talking about enterprise networking solutions today and the future of work, this is just some of the services and solutions and capabilities that we have at Insight within the enterprise networking space. As we're talking about that dissolving perimeter and trying to support remote workers, branch workers, mobile users, and all those different applications, regardless of where they sit, there's a lot of different infrastructures we can dive into, from software-defined WAN to cloud security, Wi-Fi, even analytics and controls with things like Cisco Secure Analytics and now the ThousandEyes integrations that we can put right on the 9000 series platforms. So we can help from assessment of these devices, if you need a sounding board or a vision workshop to figure out how each one of these technologies would fit into your environment. And then we can help with the design, architecture, and implementation, and ultimately day one, day two support through our managed services. And obviously, with the past year, there's been quite a big shift from CapEx to OpEx, especially in industries like hospitality, where they don't want to necessarily own the hardware. They just need everything to work, and they want to pay for it as a prescriptive service where they know their monthly costs. We also offer the as-a-service models that really help with the reduction of the CapEx expense for our clients out there. So won't drain everything else on this slide, just wanted to hit that high level, some things to think about as Doug's going through some of these Cisco networking solutions, as well as on the Cisco side. And with that, I will hand it over to Doug.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. Excellent. So we're going to cover initially the Catalyst, traditional enterprise Catalyst side. And, you know, as we go through this, don't be afraid to do a mix and match. A lot of times we're seeing customers who want to do, let's say, Meraki wireless, traditional Catalyst infrastructure. So there's a really good mix and match of even the two technology groups that we're going to talk about here today. I think a blended approach really is working very successful with a lot of customers now. So let's talk about the return to office. Now, there's four major things that you'll probably want to cover, and we're just going to talk about the networking component. We'll also talk about some of the visibility areas here, but collaboration is obviously going to be huge, right? We're finding that still a lot of customers have not either put in video capabilities, since video is the new norm. Even though you're in the office space, which I'm actually in the office today, someone is going to be remote. So video is going to be the normal of any type of meeting. We want to make sure and be inclusive there. Lots of things around security, and again, that applies to the remote worker as well as who's in the office. We want to be able to do passwordless security, some other great features that are coming on board there. But initially, let's talk about the networking capabilities. We're also going to cover about how applications have changed and why that's going to be a requirement for visibility into the internet. That's also becoming a huge topic. So number one being seamless collaboration, and a lot of the network also works with collaboration. So it may be the fact that we're detecting when people are in a room. We can count the number of people that are in a room. Some people have compliance requirements. We do here that only a certain number of people are allowed in the room. And then obviously you want to have collaboration as part of those people that are going to be remote. So we're making sure that we're keeping those places safe. But certainly collaboration is going to be first and foremost for a lot of customers. That's also going to drive a lot of bandwidth on the network. So we're seeing a lot of bandwidth increases having to happen because that high definition video, I can tell you, gets really expensive into the network the more and more you scale that out. So we're also including some of the WebEx teams and meeting places and also the meeting rooms that are included as part of collaboration. So number one, the next part after collaboration is going to be wireless. So many customers in traditional sense were just using wireless for connectivity. They never really saw it as a huge asset. It was becoming more and more a critical part of their infrastructure. But now we want to rethink as to what else can wireless gain for us. Maybe wireless is going to help us streamline onboarding of new devices that are coming on. Maybe we're not able to do either physical distancing or we're not able to see everybody correctly on-prem, so we want to be able to get them onboarded. We want to do a lot more analytics around the people that are present into the environment. We're going to see a lot more around sensors. That may be temperature. It may be security sensors on doors. It may be the way that we're scanning people in or making sure they're in compliance with whatever security measures that we've taken place. So really rethink the way that wireless is going to be driven, not only to increase capacity, but also the other things that wireless can join for you. Now, secondly is the different types of analytics that we can gather from that wireless. Maybe I've got a lot of customers who are wanting to do nothing more than people counting. They want to know where are the people, how many are in the building, where are they located at. Maybe that's just a baseline that we want to do today, right? So there's going to be a lot more IoT capabilities. Maybe we're going to do additional asset tracking. Maybe we're going to do, again, sensors, security, temperature, things that are going to be required there. And then how do we monetize that with applications? So we want to make sure you're doing any safety checks that are coming in. We want to be able to put things in front of customers, letting them know what type of, it could be monetization around specials or things that we want to interact with them. A lot of opportunity that to also take advantage with customers who are coming into our environment. Now, a couple things that we'll look at is that emphasize on that environment. A lot of times we're going to increase to Wi-Fi 6. That's going to be probably something that we want to look at. Increase the speed of the interconnections that we have inside the network. And then, again, being able to have dashboards, a way that we can keep track of the analytics that are being fed onto the wireless environment. So again, we'll talk about the Meraki solutions as well, but this certainly crosses platform. But DNA Spaces is a great way to do the asset tracking, and the Wi-Fi 6 access points also have BLE capability. So if we're doing asset tracking or we're doing other types of tracking that we want to do that environment, we want to do mobile devices as well as other types of assets that are in the environment. So again, those allows us to do reporting for compliance and some other requirements. Now, we'll build this into the collaboration environment as well. So maybe we want to do social distancing. We want to make sure that people coming into the environment feel safe, that we're staying within regulation, that everything is secure, a number of people in rooms, where are rooms available. Maybe I want to come on site and I need to know which meeting rooms are available. Or if I'm doing hot desking, we can have ways where we can tell them where's the desk and how to get to the desk safely. So maybe we don't have as much interaction, or we have requirements where we stay within social distancing of other individuals. So all of those capabilities build into either digital media signage or something with collaboration. We also want to make sure the network is fully automated as part of that. So certainly a good use case study to make that happen. All right, so we had several people that were in either manufacturing environment or something where we might have critical assets that we also want to track. And then again, this has to do with operational efficiency. Maybe in healthcare, we need to keep track of where wheelchairs are located at, make sure they didn't leave the premise, right? We want to get an alert when they're in environments where they shouldn't be. Maybe people are in environments where they shouldn't be, right? Maybe they have access or they're securing areas where we want to be able to regulate some of those things. So certainly critical asset tracking is something that's huge, and you can do that via the wireless network as well when we go to a Wi-Fi 6 and a BLE type environment with Bluetooth. So certainly want to explore how Wi-Fi 6 is to your advantage, whether it be increasing the capacity, giving us higher performance from the new clients that have been coming out for quite some time now. It's a very mature technology. Again, keeping track of IoT types of devices, and then letting people be able to roam around and have a higher density when required, higher speed throughput when needed, is certainly a good baseline to do that now. And Wi-Fi 6E, yes, is on the horizon next year. We have some access points that are coming out for that. But quite honestly, the client development, a lot of things around 6E is going to take some additional time. So 6 is a great way to baseline right now. I think it's going to last a long time into the current future. It's certainly a great way to do that. Lots of security also built into the Wi-Fi 6 component for wireless. Now, Cisco has a great portfolio built out on this, whether that be high capacity for indoor or outdoor. So in a lot of cases, people are going in outdoor environments to keep social distancing, or they just want to be able to build out monetization of that outdoor environment. So we filled out the indoor and outdoor Wi-Fi 6 access access point component. So you're certainly welcome to do that, whether you're in a weatherproofed or manufacturing environment, or if it is on traditional carpeted space. So great portfolio there. So let's think about what this also does to the infrastructure. So if I've got more and more access points at higher density, higher throughput, everyone is doing video on that access point as well, that's always going to put a lot of pressure onto the network and the access layer. So traditionally, we just had gigabit switching. We did just some throughput testing here. This is going to drive things like multi-gigabit, or even 10 gig potentially at the access. But at a minimum for the access layer, thinking about tying access points onto multi-gig switching capability. So we did some testing here again on a gigabit switch. You're limited by throughput. It's going to throttle the access point down. You're going to have to run under a gig. But we did a multi-gig switching where we tied that into an access point at Wi-Fi 6. You could run 1.5 gigs, or at the bottom here, you see in a mixed version of clients, you could certainly well run over 2 gig of throughput on that access point and through the switching environment. So it's definitely going to cause a need. I work on 10 gig infrastructures all the time now. Customers want to upgrade to at least 10 gig. But in the infrastructure, you're looking at 25, 100 gig, and potentially more than that into the near future. So great time to future-proof that. All right, so the other thing is that we want to show that we certainly have multi-gig in a lot of the portfolio, and we have some great bundles together. If you do want to look at switching, multi-gigabit switching, and you want to look at some Wi-Fi 6, please work with Insight. We've got some great bundles to be able to get you into that environment, and then be able to at least test that out in a lab or test that out in a test environment and make sure that that's meeting the requirements that you have. So the other thing is we're coming back to work that many customers are thinking about, especially when future-proofing their environment, is what are these endpoint devices, sensors, access point I want to get to? If I want to look at 6 or I want to look potentially into the future, I need to drive more power into the environment, right? So if I'm looking at potentially looking at lighting or sensors or other types of endpoint devices, I want to make sure that I can looking at 60 watt or 90 watt, universal PoE or PoE plus, potentially running at 90 watt. We have some great solutions that can run at high density, so that if you're looking at potentially smart buildings, digital media signage, things that are working in that environment. And also these will return power very quickly, so it's highly available, runs on CAT cable, which is great, so you don't have to worry about electrical, some other issues there. Returns very quickly to power even if the switch is rebooted or upgraded. So there's a lot of development technologies to look at maybe powering those directly on the switch. A lot of high density available there as well. All right, now for the Catalyst line, a lot of the environment is managed, in our case, from DNA Center. So DNA Center is an appliance. You can set this up in high availability mode, but it's really going to take a lot of the telemetry from the Catalyst, the wireless, sensor capability, some other things we're going to talk about here, to put all of that into a single environment that gives you very deep analytics around troubleshooting, around security, around being able to quickly analyze who is connected where. I can put in your user name and tell exactly which devices you're using. If you tell me which device you're having problems, I can see your connectivity all the way through the network. It has a lot of advantages on when it comes to just one pane of management. We have a lot of customers using this, honestly, for just image management. They don't know what software they're being used. They don't know which security P-cert has been issued against those devices. Forget troubleshooting, a lot of deep dive into troubleshooting. This makes instant access to troubleshooting when that happens, and makes recommendations of remedial steps of things you need to check based on Cisco TAC and some other capabilities that we're building into the intelligence of exactly things that you need to look at to make this troubleshooting happen. I have a lot of customers who are having trouble finding, high-level Cisco certified individuals, CCIE or otherwise. They're finding that DNA Center has really streamlined the ability for lesser skilled individuals to troubleshoot and get their mean time to remediation very quickly without lesser knowledge about what's actually happening inside the infrastructure. So seeing a really good opportunity to rethink the way DNA Center is being proposed. So some of the things that have recently been introduced is when I want to look at the configurations on the devices, have the configurations changed? What are the differences in those configurations and how long has it been there? Who made the changes, et cetera, good things to look at. Again, software image management, feature sets on different images or things that need to be upgraded. Maybe they're not the golden image. Those are things that we want to keep track of as well. And as I talked about before, was a new security advisory issued against that product line. Do I need to look at remediation? What steps do I need to take? Is it a config change? Is it an image upgrade? Some of those things have really been important for customers lately. Definitely something to look at. And then we talked about troubleshooting. So think about mean time to remediation. Where do you start? Where do you start in the environment? Is it hop by hop? How many different tools do you have to look at? But when we're looking at some of these remedial tasks that we would typically do in a customer or a particular environment, being able to get to mean time resolution and being able to have guided remediation and intelligence about what's happening on inside the network based on all this telemetry data from wired, wireless sensors certainly has been a huge advocate for customers and being able to get the environment up and running again. All right, so now that we've looked at the network capabilities, and again, this is building intelligence into that environment, potentially upgrading the wireless and the infrastructure, and then making sure you have the capacity that you need to go into the future based on all the video and other applications that are coming in. So next, let's shift to visibility and kind of the way applications are being changed in this environment as well. So applications, whether they be in the cloud or, maybe you used to have a data center, but now IT is remote and maybe you haven't touched a data center in a year and a half. Maybe all applications are going to Azure, they're going to Amazon, right? Very, very common. How does that change? Or maybe your business is built on an application that you host in the cloud, right? All of those are really important things that we now have to consider, which before maybe we just backtracked into the data center, it was all located there. Many customers now are certainly using applications in many different ways that they did not do before. So some of the three things that we've seen change over the last 18 months, and again, you see the thing on the left here, and I'm not going to go through all the verbiage, but before you had remote branches, they all backhauled to a MPLS or otherwise linked to a data center. I had full visibility. I could see both ends of the pipe. I knew exactly what was happening on QoS. Everything was in place. Everything was happy. As an IT instructor, I'm very, very comfortable with that type of environment. Well, what's happened in the last 18 months? Number one, cloud is the new data center. So maybe new applications probably didn't go in the data center now. They went to some cloud-based environment, right? So that happened, number one. Number two, the internet is your new network. And guess what? The internet's not very easy to control. We don't have a lot of visibility into the internet. So if I have an application that's not performing well or an end user that's not performing well in their home environment, where do I start to even triage that, right? It has really changed the visibility game and the troubleshooting game onto the internet, which again, I have no control over as an IT individual. Third part is that software as a service really is the new app stack. So many cloud-based applications, everyone's gone cloud-based as much as they can. Office 365, WebEx Teams, Salesforce, things have been around for a long time. Almost everyone is using some form or fashion of a software-based application in the cloud. So let's think about the dilemma that really puts us into. So before, again, on the left here, the enterprise, I control both ends of the link. I have full visibility up to the service provider router. Maybe I have some visibility into the service provider, maybe not. And then again, when it goes into the internet, it's wild, wild west. I don't know where it's going, which service providers, what's my last mile, my middle mile, which backbones am I getting on. We've really lost the capability of that visibility into the middle. Also, you may or may not have visibility into the applications once they go into the cloud. So I get into Office 365 as an example. I log in. I don't know exactly maybe where I'm going into the Office 365 cloud because there's a lot of different options to be able to do that. But we want to gain a way to see visibility all the way from potentially my laptop sitting at home for experience all the way up to and including the full login into something like Office 365, other cloud-based applications. So that's really what we're wanting to get to as a utopia, as an IT environment. So recently, I'd say recently, it's been about a year now, we acquired ThousandEyes. And ThousandEyes helps us to do exactly this. Everywhere from going hop by hop into the service provider environment, from layer 3 all the way up to and including full page loading onto the actual SaaS-based application itself, right? So we want to see full metrics, path visualization, page loading, page all the way through login, app experience. Again, can be in my environment, the Catalyst line. It can be in the laptop on the end user that's sitting at home. So extremely flexible in the way that can be implemented. But this has been a huge advantageous, and again, we can set this on any cloud-based application that exists today, all the way up to and including, again, full transactional onto the load. So the other thing nice is that when I've identified a potential issue or outage or something that's happened, number one, I can get alerted to it quickly. I can find out exactly where it's happening into that environment all the way through to the cloud. And then I can share this with my service provider, just as a read-only, show them exactly where it's happening. Maybe it's cloud-based, maybe it's CSP, but I can show them exactly where it's happening, look at rerouting potentially, or other things that I can try to get in front of that equation. So seeing this as being hugely powerful for customers in this environment. So just think about, again, discovery, and I can't imagine one of these questions don't apply to everyone that's here on the call, is that what are your top 5 applications? How do you triage if you're having a bad experience at the end user? Maybe they're at home, maybe they're in the corporate environment. Where do you start to triage that capability? What is your cloud strategy? What do you use in the cloud? What goes to the data center? And you're probably using something in the cloud. Are you looking at software-defined WAN? Lots of customers are looking at this. This technology solution allows you to test the underlay and the overlay. You look inside the tunnels, you look under the tunnels. How do you know if that cloud provider, particular different cloud providers are performing correctly? Maybe Google local is not performing well, maybe Azure is performing better, right? So it allows you to also evaluate those SaaS applications. How do you know that customers are accessing your cloud-based applications effectively? How do you test for that? Many different ways that we can do that proactively. Walk me through an outage on a SaaS-based application. How do you go through that, right? Sometimes that can really keep you up at night on to make that happen. And then what business impact does the internet have on your business? How has it changed that dynamics, and how are you dealing with that control in the way that that's happening? So a couple things to definitely consider around visibility and the infrastructure as well. So greatly appreciate the time. And now let's explore the many different great ways that Meraki could also be a fit into this environment as well. Hand over to Mike there if you want to do a transition, or we want to go straight to Honor.
Yeah, that works. We'll just hand it straight over to Honor, and Honor, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. Great presentation, Doug, as well. So, guys, my name's Amar Badi, and I'm a Meraki Partner Solutions Architect. And I'll be spending the next few minutes just to talk about the Meraki portion and what we can offer when it comes to the future of work. So with the ever-changing environment, and evolving work environments. Here at Meraki, our goal, as you can see here, is to simplify IT for our customers. Being born and bred in the cloud, every solution that we have come up with is very scalable, easy to manage, and it really frees up time, especially when it comes for our customers to focus on things that really matter to them the most. So as we start looking at the Meraki platform, there is a lot that we have. We have a full stack that focuses on networking and security. So just taking a look at some of the products that Meraki offers, we started out with our Meraki MR wireless access points, and then we branched off into our MS switching, MX security, and SD-WAN appliances, came out with our MG cellular gateway devices. We also have Meraki Insight, which is focused on application and WAN visibility. Systems Manager, or SM, which is focusing on the endpoint security side. And then focusing more on the physical security side, we have our MB and MT, which focuses on the smart cameras, using them as a sensor as well as IoT sensors. So that way you have much more visibility into the physical side as the offices open up, and being able to monitor the devices that you have in your environment to make sure that they are performing optimally and there's no issues whatsoever. The fact that, all these devices and products are really great, but what really differentiates Meraki is the fact that all of our devices are actually managed by our cloud-managed Meraki dashboard. And this is where we really differentiate ourselves, because this platform really allows you to scale, meet the demands of not just today, but tomorrow as well. So as we go through some of the solutions and talk about Meraki specifically, just keep this in the back of your mind, because you'll be able to better understand exactly how Meraki can help you as you return back to the office, as well as future-proofing you in the future. One last thing I'll say on this slide is that when it comes to our customers, we have a full variety of different types of customers in different verticals and different industries as well. So being able to cater to our small SMB customers, to our mid-size, as well as our large enterprises that consist of thousands of locations. So that being said, the future of workplace really requires IT to be agile for digital workspace. Whether keeping remote workers productive or delivering a connection to faraway resources, cloud-managed IT delivers access from any device to really any cloud, radically for faster deployment, management, and troubleshooting. We also offer the perfect platform for converting workplaces to digital or virtual environments with a complete unified portfolio, as I just showed you guys before. And by using our cloud-based dashboard, an internet connection is really all that you need to be able to manage all your deployed infrastructure from anywhere in the world. So you could have hundreds or thousands of locations, spread out globally. You can sit in one location and manage all of those devices. What makes the dashboard and Meraki solution really great is the fact that you have remote visibility and troubleshooting capabilities. I know Doug touched upon some of that before, but when it comes to the dashboard and being, again, in the cloud, we get to take advantage of all the latest and greatest ML and AI capabilities of our platform. So that way we can make sense of all the data, that the network is seeing. So that way we can provide more natural, holistic insights to those networks. So that way we can help our customers troubleshoot issues as they come up on the fly and be able to resolve issues and reduce that mean to resolution time. We also offer the true zero-touch remote provisioning, which is great because you, as a customer, can have many different sites that you might be bringing up as you're returning back to the office, and being able to leverage the Meraki solution really means that from the time that you order your equipment, you don't need to have any hardware on site, but you can really go ahead and start configuring every single thing when it comes to the wireless side, switching, security, any of those things, and be able to push out that configuration as equipment starts getting delivered, and all it really you have to do is plug it in. Meraki will, those devices will call Meraki home, and they will be able to download that configuration and be up and ready in just a couple of minutes. We offer a variety of different types of options when it comes to that. Obviously, being able to go ahead and leverage the dashboard to be able to configure that. We offer configuration templates for smoother, expansion of those sites. So that way, if there is best practices when it comes to configuration, you can go ahead and apply those very seamlessly and easily. We also offer API capability and allow our customers to do more automation, as I know Mike touched upon in the beginning. So being able to go ahead and leverage all the API endpoints that we offer, so that way you can go ahead and not only leverage automation when it comes to configuring and deploying, but at the same time, integrate with your existing environment, right? You have so many different types of solutions already in-house. You can go ahead and leverage APIs to integrate with those solutions, so that way you can manage from monitoring perspective from just that one single pane of glass. And at the same time, saving costs at the end of the day, especially when it comes to those remote sites where you don't necessarily need to have a technical person in each one of those locations. You can go ahead and just have anyone plug in a device and be up and ready in minutes. So from an operational standpoint, it saves a lot of money on that front as well. So one thing we've realized, right, I know Doug touched upon it, Mike touched upon it, but it's really all about what workers really need, not just now, but in the future. And one thing we've realized is that, we need secure access as employees, no matter if we're in the office, at home, on the road. It's all about being able to connect constantly back to our corporate resources. So whether that be emails, internet, corporate services, really solutions or services that are, let's say, within the corporate environment on-prem or in the cloud, being able to really understand what those types of services that employees need access to, and then be able to cater to those types of services, so that way employees have the best performance and experience. That's really what Meraki's biggest focus is. So with that, we offer a few different types of options as well, depending on, if employees are in branch offices or if they're just on the road or at home. We offer auto VPN and client VPN capabilities. With client VPN, it's really all about, catering to the employees that are just really mobile, right? They're doing hybrid work, they're at home, they're moving around. They're in the office, they're flying. So being able to securely connect through client VPN, the best part when it comes to Meraki is that there's no need to install any additional software. You can take advantage of those built-in VPN capabilities of your operating system. And you can also even have options for multiple authentication options. So that way you can go ahead and really leverage the integration that we have on the Cisco side with Cisco ICE, for example, or be able to leverage the built-in authentication capabilities of the Meraki platform. We offer two-factor authentication and also allowing our customers to go ahead and do split traffic, so that way if they're sitting in a remote office or at home, they can go ahead and be able to directly have their data and traffic sent and connect to those SaaS applications that they're trying to connect to, without having to go and connect back to the corporate office or data center and then out, right? Increases, it just provides overall better performance. From an auto VPN perspective, it's really Meraki's state-of-the-art proprietary site-to-site VPN technology, and it's probably the most simplest and easiest way to implement IPsec VPN. And multiple different options, but it's all about being able to make sure that branch offices or even some home offices that need that constant connection back, you can go ahead and leverage auto VPN in just a matter of a couple of clicks, and then you have that full access to your corporate resources. It has VPN firewall capabilities, being able to go ahead, include and exclude networks, and then also having redundancy built in. So that way, if for some reason, let's say a data center that you're connecting to goes down, you have the option to be able to connect automatically to a backup data center. So that way you're always up and running. This is just an example of what, some of the things that you can do when it comes to the auto VPN. First off, it's, being able to select different types of subnets that should have access to the data resources or HQ. So being able to go ahead and just really turn VPN on or off when it comes to certain subnets. It's just a matter of a click, right? Makes it so much easier. And if you guys obviously have configured through CLI before, I'm sure you guys know the headache that comes with that. So having auto VPN capability, not having to worry about any single thing, and just a matter of like 2 or 3 clicks, you can bring 2 sites up and connect them. That's really what Meraki provides. Here's an example of that virtual in-office experience, right? So you have remote mobile customers, you have office workers, and whether they're accessing, let's say Salesforce, Office 365, you as an administrator have the option to be able to provide flexibility for your users, so that way, if they're trying to access any SaaS application that does not reside on-prem in the data center or HQ, you can go ahead and have them send traffic directly out to that SaaS application. But all the other resources, they can constantly connect back to the HQ or data center. Being able to leverage MR, wireless access points, we also offer capability to offer that same auto VPN tunnel back to HQ or data center. So that way, you can extend that corporate SSID to a home or branch office. So it's as if that employee is sitting in the office, but working from home. Moreover, being able to go ahead and understand that as the future work evolves, it's all about being able to securely maintain and bring onboard BYOD devices as well as corporate devices. And leveraging Meraki Systems Manager, that's a solution to be able to go ahead and really go and manage and monitor and make sure that as those devices are onboarded and are being used by employees, they are meeting the compliance requirements. They don't have any malware on them. They're not, employees are not installing any software that should not be on there in the first place, and really protecting that corporate data. So Systems Manager, you don't need any sort of additional hardware. It's all managed via the cloud. There is, self-onboarding capability. So it really reduces the overhead when it comes to having to hire additional folks just so they can go ahead and deploy the solution. This makes it super easy, super simple, and allows employees to really go ahead and benefit from being able to have a secure device onboarded. As we start looking at, return to office, it's just as important to understand that a lot of devices, and I know Doug's touched upon this quite a bit, so I won't have to go into this too deep, but it's all about understanding, what is the traffic going to look like as we look, 2, 3, 5, 10 years into the future. There is going to be a lot of demand on Wi-Fi. There's going to be more devices that are going to be, connecting to that wireless network. It says that there's going to be roughly 3.6 connected devices per person. So, the density is definitely increasing, which means that the need for speed and the need to be able to support video conferencing, voice, all of that as we move into hybrid IT environments, all of that is really important to keep in mind, because that is something that is going to be, having to be looked at, especially as we return to the office, and making sure that customers have, their Wi-Fi infrastructure ready to be able to support the demand that the employees are going to bring in. So the power of Wi-Fi 6, as Dustin touched upon as well, being able to support 4 times as much as what Wi-Fi 5 Wave 2 was able to provide. So having throughput capabilities up to 4.8 gigs, increasing that in reliability as well. So just the standard in itself, when it comes to Wi-Fi 6, it is a much more improved standard in terms of being able to provide a more scheduled time for devices to be able to use different spectrums and different channels. So it just makes it a lot more easier and improves the performance overall. For higher density, it's a perfect solution because it actually provides more radios, and just the overall makeup of Wi-Fi 6 really provides for a better performance for the clients. And frankly, for the employees themselves, longer battery life, right? Who doesn't need that? Because of the way that Wi-Fi 6 works, it actually allows the mobile devices that are connecting to the Wi-Fi 6 network to be able to benefit from that, and really increases the battery life up to 67%, which is huge. So that being said, whether your users are connecting through wireless or just connecting via the wire, it's all about being able to make sure that as an administrator, as an organization, you're able to go ahead and monitor the applications that those users are using, and monitor from a location or office perspective what the WAN health looks like. So our Meraki Insight product just does just that, being able to provide visibility into any issues that are, we can see. Let's say if multiple offices are trying to connect and use Salesforce, if there's issues in a particular region, Meraki Insight will be able to identify that, and then we'll be able to tell you the next steps on how to remediate that as well. You'll be able to see sub-second information. It'll even tell you if the issue resides within your own network or if it's with the service provider, so that way you can reduce that mean to resolution time. WAN health is all about being able to understand what the health of each WAN connection across all your offices look like from that single pane of glass. So that way you know exactly if there's an issue or performance degradation in a particular location, you have visibility into that, and you're able to resolve that before employees start to see any sort of issue come up, right? So being able to stay one step ahead of issues is really what Meraki is able to provide. And finally, moving and expanding into visibility into physical security, Meraki is putting a lot of investment and time into being able to provide our customers with our, Meraki Vision or MV smart cameras, as well as our latest MT or Meraki Things IoT sensors. These two solutions are really catering towards being able to provide visibility in ways that our customers never had before. With MV, it's all about being able to go ahead and understand and use those cameras as a sensor, not just from on a security-only perspective, being able to leverage the capabilities of the smart analytics that's built inside of it, being able to leverage APIs, so that way you can do more than just be able to monitor a particular area, but being able to make sense of that data, so that way it works and applies to some business outcomes. So as you can see here, MV security cameras, we're the only security camera from a cloud leader. We offer a variety of different types of models, from indoor to outdoor cameras, provide 512 gigs of storage, and soon to be 1 terabyte of storage as well. And the main thing to know, and I'll touch upon this a little bit near the end in a minute or so, is being able to, again, use these as a sensor and leverage existing solutions that are very customized, that can meet the needs and requirements of organizations today. MT is all about protecting the business critical infrastructure when it comes to network closets, leveraging the existing MV cameras or the MR wireless access points as gateways, MT is a great, easy way to just add more visibility into your environment without having to pay tons of additional money over it. So being able to go ahead and, as you can see here, leverage 3 types of sensors, open and close sensor, being able to go ahead and leverage the water leak sensor, as well as temperature and humidity sensor, so that way you can go ahead and really be able to understand anytime there is a change in the temperature, anytime there is water detected, anytime a door is open, getting alerts on that. Also, it's ideal for sites that have adverse weather conditions, unreliable HVAC systems. Maybe they have old buildings and you want to bring that up and bring them state of the art, right? Buildings. Critical inventory, always on manufacturing sites. Suboptimal network closets, anytime there is a device that's starting to overheat, being able to get an alert on that so you can remediate the issue before it becomes a bigger problem. Physical intrusion vulnerabilities, as well as places where there's no local IT, so that way you can manage all those closets from a single pane. Also, as I mentioned before, included in the Meraki marketplace, we have tons of different types of solutions that are already built that customers can utilize. Meraki Marketplace is the largest marketplace in the industry. We have over 150 different types of ecosystem partners that have worked to create custom solutions for our customers, whether it be safe occupancy, contact-less, tracing for as customers and organizations have their employees move back into the office, being able to have a solution that's ready to go. That's really what Meraki is able to provide with our products. Secure navigation, contact tracing. These are just a few examples, and I highly recommend you guys to go to apps.meraki.io, work with Insight, and they'll be able to help you guys better understand what is the right solution for you guys as you guys move back in, so that way you're providing a more safer, better experience for your employees. As I start closing it out, I just want to mention that, hopefully by now you understood that with zero-touch provisioning, we also provide zero-touch updates. So as new features come out, employees get to take advantage of being able to get the best and the latest features without ever having to pay additional for it. As long as you're an active user, you can go ahead and take advantage of all of the latest updates. And it just makes it very simple to be able to manage that as well, because you're managing everything from that single pane of Meraki glass, which is a Meraki dashboard. You can go ahead and push out updates from a firmware perspective pretty easily and seamlessly, and schedule maintenance downtimes as well as needed. And then end-to-end analytics. So being able to go ahead and the more Meraki devices you have in an environment, the more they'll be able to share telemetry information with one another, and the more visibility you as a customer will be able to have in that environment. So highly recommend to explore those solutions, work with your Insight team to see, if it's a better fit for you guys. Do trials. I recommend that. It's going to be the best thing to when you guys are able to see exactly all the information that you'll be able to get. As a quick, case study, I just want to touch upon this as, Imagination Group, right? They believe that technology plays a crucial role in how media is distributed and consumed at the core, as the core of their business. The team is always looking at ways to innovate and utilize technology to make experiences they create bigger, more tangible, more lasting, more inspiration, overall more valuable, right? So working to facilitate this core business strategy while also keeping employees connected and fostering that collaboration, maintaining forward momentum on the projects is quite a task for Paul Saunders, right? So being able to go ahead and leverage the Meraki solution and be able to leverage auto VPN capabilities and have their employees connected was something that they were able to achieve with the Meraki platform. finally, I just want to say that, Meraki has a solution for every different types of use cases, as some of them that I touched upon before, and it's really built for those hybrid work environments. So if you guys have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer those. But I'd like to thank you guys for your time, and I'll hand it off back to Mike.
Thank you, Amr. Appreciate it. Great presentation. I know we are right up against the hour, so I will make this close out quick. One thing I wanted to let you all know on the call, that we're talking about the future of work, and that talks about that evolving perimeter and really the modern edge or intelligent edge. You may have heard that term out there. So really focusing on how to make our client experiences, our customer interactions, our employees' usability and access to our environment more seamless. So we have a whole virtual conference going on right now called Accelerate 2021. So go to insight.com/accelerate. It gives you access to a ton of videos. One that I wanted to call out was The Network is the Edge. And it goes a little bit deeper into that modern edge and a lot of the architectures that are out there to support you as you're looking about the future of IT in your work environment. There was a question that came in the chat. I answered it, but then I selected a button that said mark as answer. So I don't know if you got it, so I will just cover this real fast. If you're looking at Cisco Meraki solutions and you see other products out there that may make sense for your environment, one thing I would strongly suggest is get a demo of the capabilities, especially for small businesses around Meraki. The Meraki dashboard is super easy to work with. It's an entire unified threat management system when you're looking at the Meraki MX. So you've got the firewall, the VPN capabilities, and also management of the whole Meraki stack out there. And same on the DNA Center side. I mean, that's meant a little bit more for larger enterprises. So Meraki may make a fit. I would suggest get a demo, but it really depends on the use cases you have out there for what product and what partner makes the most sense to implement in your environment. But really thank everybody so much for attending today. I hope you found this information. And like I said, go check out the Accelerate conference. There's a lot of content out there that's going to really expand upon a lot of the technologies we talked about today. So thank you so much, and have a great rest of the week.